Hello. So, since it's around the end of 2025 and we still have heard zero news about fruma, I would like to speed up the process a bit by proposing my ideas for the fruma raid. So, let's start with the first room. I propose that we have a platform hold room because every raid have those. So, here's the hold room. Basically, you stand on that platform for 90 seconds, and that's the room. Yeah, yeah. Why 90 seconds? Because we feel like 60 seconds is a bit too short. After all, we do believe that the average raid time should be around 15 minutes per raid. Anyways, since every single hold room in the game has some sort of mobs to disrupt you and you must kill them, I suppose we also add a mob here that's supposed to spawn every once in a while and require to be killed in order for the raid to continue. And I propose that this mob to be the new sun from Annihilation because this is the Frumo raid. We want it to be difficult, so the sun will rapidly spit fireball at everyone, and if you don't kill it in time, instead of just pausing the timer, the raid will just straight up fail. Now, of course, the other staple of every single raid is a gather room. Here's my proposal for a gather room. We have simply killing a mini boss for one of the resources. We have a parkour challenge to get one of the resources. However, you must hold the invigorating flame because we love those. We brought back the block party minigame from 2.0 TCC. And then we also have a resource which requires you to obtain the Frumite paper. This resource requires wood cutting level 132. Does that mean that raid is soft locked if someone in your party don't have wood cutting level 132? Yes. I believe this will be beneficial because this gives players an incentive to actually grind professions because there's no one in professions nowadays because you just ask other people to craft them. So, yeah. Now, for room 2. Oh, I forgot. Um, After all the rooms are obtained, all the resources are obtained, you must wait for around 3 minutes before a mini boss spawn, while you have to defend where you deposit your resources. There have been people abusing bugs with slash killing in the past to skip this process and dupe resources. In order to prevent that, I propose that I propose that if any player dies during the room, the raid instantly fails. Therefore, no one can abuse slash killing to dupe resources. Now, for room 2, I propose a room called 3 platforms. Basically, all players will spawn in the middle of the room while there are 5 platforms behind closed gates throughout the room. Now, every once in a while, 3 of the gates will open up, and the players must hold all 3 platforms at the same time in order for a 60-second timer to count down, hence 3 platforms. Now, that was my idea at first. However, a big problem is that 60 seconds is way too short. As we know, the average raid time should be around 15 minutes, which means let's extend the timer to 2 minutes. The other glaring issue with this suggestion is that the raid have a party of 4, which means one of the player will be basically doing nothing throughout the entire room. So in order to solve that issue, I propose that instead of 3 of the gates opening up, let's make it 4 of the gates opening up. So this room will now be renamed to 4 platform and it will be a great addition to the raid. Now, the other room 2 variation is escort. Pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it's a 5 minutes long room that the player will be have to escort a guard all the way through a long hallways. And I believe this room will be beneficial because A, again, the 15 minutes per raid average, and also B, because we don't want to like implement band-aid fixes onto these kind of like quote unquote boring room. We want to provide quality and instead of wanting to shorten it, I believe we should instead just leave it as it is. So yeah. Anyways, now for the third room. Room 3 will be pretty simple. You start at point A, you have to make it through a bunch of hallways to reach point B. Now, that's simple and all, but what's special about this room is that in order for the raid to be like cool with like the story and all, the Fruma Queen will show up in this room and start chasing the party. During this room, the Fruma Queen is completely invincible, and instead she'll just chases all the players. So this is basically a chase sequence. Oh, also this is the only possible room 3 variation, kind of like TCC. So if it's just a chase sequence, just making just run from point A to point B can be a bit boring. So instead, I suggest that the players need to be blocked off by some kind of giant gates that will block the player's path. But how do I open these gates? Good question. I propose these things called terminals. Basically, you have to complete certain tasks in these terminals in order to open the gate to reach the next area. There will probably be around like 5 or something terminals in each area, and we can also add some special tasks, but that's basically the idea of the room. Anyways, now let's move on to the boss, which will be the Fruma Queen herself. So here's some of the attacks I propose for the Fruma Queen. First of all, a charge attack, because every single raid boss need those. Then I have proposed the Watched. The reason for this attack being needed is because we like to time gate bosses. So every 10% of the HP that the Fruma Queen lost, she will enter a Watched phase. And during the Watched phase, she'll basically fire like 12 Watched beams at every player, and yeah, you just gonna have to survive those. There have been talks about how guild raid TNA is already too easy, so there's no obelisks this time in the Fruma raid. Or actually, now that I thought about it, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to implement a obelisk that's like 20 HP. So you need 20 watch beams to destroy them. Um, the other attack that I would like to implement is the crystallines from the Orpheum boss fight. This is because I believe that the crystals, it will be great to encourage teamwork. So the players have to free other players by killing the crystallines. But here's the problem. Just killing the crystallines is way too easy. So instead of killing them, you have to mine the crystalline, which requires mining level 132 to break. So yeah, it'll take around 4 ticks of mining to, of yeah, 4 ticks to mine the crystalline in order to free your teammate if they got stuck in them. And that's 4 tick can be sped up by prof speed bombs. So more incentive for the player to buy the speed bombs. After all, the Salted does need money, which means my proposal will make Salted more money. Now, while we're on the topic of Orpheus attacks, let's just add in every single Orpheus attack from 2.0. Bloodless Ruin, Cyclone Blows, Pulse, Cyclone's Curse, Lightning Strike, and Mob Spam. Well, Mob Spam is not really an attack, but it might as well be one in the 2.0 era where your FPS just tanks whenever you enter Orphean. For those unaware, Bloodless Ruin makes 1/4 of the arena become rapidly damaging on anyone who stand on them. Cyclone Flow basically launches your upwards. Cyclone Curse teleports you into a crystallized player spot, and Lightning Strike basically targets you, and after a few seconds, there's going to be a lightning there. Unironically, though, Lightning Strike would not be a bad attack to add back. Anyways, in order to encourage more teamwork, another attack I would like to suggest is something, let's call it Voodoo Bindings. This attack will basically show either open or closed circles above each player's name tag, and it's gonna be either red, green, white, or blue. Red means all 3 other players must stand within that player's radius. Green means no other players can stand within that player's radius. Blue means that the one other player needs to stand within the radius of the player, and white means the player must stand within the radius of another player's circle. With open circle, meaning that after the time's up, the area, a giant radius around the player, except very close to where the player is, will insta kill them actually, because insta killing is cool. And closed circle means that there's gonna be a small radius around the player with no safe spot at the middle, so you have to run away. So TLDR, this attack will encourage teamwork. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the attacks. Now another idea I have for the Fruma Queen is she will just completely disable all the spells that the players have. This is because that in the current meta, spell builds kind of dominate and melee builds have no place. So I believe this will fix the stale meta where everything is just spell spam and there's no melee. And this also makes sense lore-wise because Fruma Queen is like kind of like forbidding magic in Fruma, all of those. So yeah, that'd be cool. Anyways, thanks for watching. This is my proposal to the Fruma raid.